Yeah, I remember as a kid, yeah, um, going to school, meeting other kids, and just having a laugh, and this, that, and the other. And sometimes you meet kids that didn't really like you that much, and you get involved with big fights and things like that. You know what I mean? And get hurt and get bashed up by kids. There's a little saying, "There's to get bashed up, get you round the neck, we'll let you go," and all these sorts of things. You know what I mean? And it was like part of growing up, part of learning about fighting. Yeah, and then going to school and looking at going on the playgrounds and getting bullied by other kids. I used to get bullied quite a lot. I used to get bashed up quite a lot by kids. Um, I was always protective of my big brother Keith. Not not my big brother Keith can't fight, because my big brother Keith could have a right fight. You know what I mean? And we've had a few fights, and he's knocked me out about 4 times. You know what I mean? So my brother can have a fight, but I was always protective to him. I didn't want him to see me fight. I didn't want to get him involved in anything like that. Yeah. So it was all, if anything ever happened to me and I was a bit smashed up on the face, I'd never tell my brother Keith anything like that. I'd be bashed up by so and so. And then it goes on, doesn't it, when you're a little kid, don't get up with molested as a child. So I was getting a bit violent anyway at school. And then you get a few mates and things happen and your mates stick together, and we got with this guy and we bashed him up for his money because he was molester. And we was going, as I told you, we was going to Acton Park and get all the old boys on the benches, and they like to fiddle about young kids, so we'd see what they would do, and we would steam into them, bash them up, nick their purses, their little purses they used to have, or their wallets, and it went on for quite some time. And to go to the park and play around with trolleys, and get smashed to pieces with the trolleys, hitting the fence and all that, and getting harder and harder and harder. And one day, um, I met a couple of white nice guys, a couple of black guy and a white guy, one called Danny Christie. This guy can never fight, mate. This guy could march on. He wasn't a black guy, he wasn't a fool. He knew how to box. His dad's taught him how to fight, yeah. And I used to go around his house, and his mum, lovely woman, mate, his mum, but she used to bash Leslie up. She was the governor. The old man, he was Ghanaian, and he used to teach us to fight in the back garden with a big bag and bricks and all that, you know. And Leslie learnt me a lot, and his dad learnt me a lot about fights and fighting. And one day Leslie said to me, "Listen, there's a little club just down the road opening up, private youth centre, and they've got judo in there, and they got a few weights and a couple of bags in there and bits and pieces. Come down, mate." So I went down there. I never had no money. My mum never had no money. My mum was always had no money at all. So we used to do little robberies here and there, get through the back of shops and nick the tobaccos and all that sort of thing, chocolates and that. And so I always had a little bit of pocket money, but not much, yeah, because I never went to ask my mum for any money, because you'd never get it. You know what I mean? My mum was always not had no money at all. My mum used to put ticks in the little shop round across the road, old Doris' shop, little ticks of money for us, like threepences and pennies in there, so we can get licorices and bits and pieces like that. And anyway, I was going down there with Leslie McIntyre, into this place, gym, and I was getting right involved in doing lots of weights. I was doing more curls than anything. That's why maybe I've got big arms now, yeah. I was always curling weights, always. And then learned to get on a bag, punch the bag, and there was no pads. Well, there was pads, but there wasn't pads. There was just bits of hard material, yeah, made into a hand gloves, yeah. And so you get to learning how to fight, and then meeting a guy called Nicky Smith. And me and Nicky Smith fought. I used to fight 24/7. Any time we'd see each other, and we'd fight all the time. Just keep fighting. We'd never. I don't know. I don't know what it was. It was either a woman, as they always are. So you're kids, and then I started going down a club called London Transport. And I met a guy called George Whelan. Well, George Whelan at that time lived up the top of my road, just round the corner, and used to take me in the morning to the park at the top of my road. I used to start running. And what it was, one day I was walking my dog around the park, and I see George Willen, and I was sort of like, he was in his tennis, there's a big tennis courts, yeah. He was in the bit, he was running up and down. So I had a little talk, and you could see by his face that he was an ex-fighter. And I said to him, you know, talking to him, and he said, "What, you interested in fight?" I said, yeah, you know, really interested, you know. He said, look, I'm running a club down London Transport. And she said, oh, do you know? I said, no, I don't know it. So he took me down there, got in the van with him. He only lived around the corner of my house. There's a big trust there. Anyway, don't get being molested as a child anyway, so my fear is there. My fear is always there, yeah. But this guy had one of them. You really trusted him, yeah. So he took me to London Transport, and I walked in, and there was this old boy called Jock. And he looked after all the gloves and bits and pieces. And I see some big guys in there. There was a big black guy there. I think his name was sort of Garth or something like that. He was a heavyweight, but short, stocky, powerful guy, yeah. Tresham. He's got Les Tresham. There was lots of people in there. Peter Smith. There's lots of guys in there, yeah. Tommy Keane and all them sorts of people, yeah. And anyway, I started meeting George Willen at the top of my road, and we used to run. But he used to teach me to do this Russian pulse rate running, where you run right to the end of the tennis courts. So there's 3 tennis courts together. Run right at the very end, walk back, and then he tests my pulse. Same thing again, run to the top, walk back, test my pulse. And in the end, after about 3 or 4 weeks, he started doing it, and your pulse isn't moving that much, yeah. It's not going crazy, and so you're getting fitter and fitter, yeah. Pulse rate running, Russian pulse rate running, and then it get me to go around Gunsley Park. Gunsley Park was a nice run, and it got to the stage where I was to run around there 2-3 times, yeah. And George said to me, right, you're getting really, really fit. I was to run up the hills and do a lot of log lifting, bunny hops, bunny this and the burp, all sorts of exercises with George. You know, he learnt me a lot. And me and Leslie McIntyre, Leslie's come down there. I was to spar around with Leslie. Leslie's only welterweight. I was about a cruiserweight then, and we used to spar together. Leslie used to bash me up, very fast, very fantastic fighter. And he used to hold his hands like that, yeah. And it's just a fantastic fighter, mate. He was unbelievable. And he used to really bash me up a little bit, you know what I mean? But obviously I let him, he was in trouble, yeah. But respect, well, a lot of respect was there. And because of my weight and this, that and the other. And George told me not to worry about the weight of me. Just if you see the opportunities, let him have it. But don't really punch that hard way, you know? But just let him have it, mate. And there was a guy called Garth, as I told you, a black guy called Garth in there. And me and Garth was to spar a bit, and this guy could really bang, you know what I mean? So I to learn by the way he used to bang me, yeah? And he used to bang me, mate, and he used to really hurt you. Well, all the ring in your head, yeah? I didn't used to like wearing headgear, because I always thought headgear was worse than not the headgear at all, because it seems to, when you got headgear, it seems to hold it in. When you get it really hard, it holds that, it holds it in your head, and it don't seem to go, it's there, yeah? So I used to not like wearing it, you know, wearing the head stuff. And, you know, and I started to really get to hold my own with Garth. And really, I was to work out for 2 hours at a time, on the bags, the balls, you know, the old punch balls on the stand. Everybody was like knocking it all over the place, you know what I mean? And we had massive big bags in there. I mean, really solid bags, you know. And when you got in them bags, mate, you knew that would work out. You know, if you go 3 threes in them bags, mate, you know you have it, yeah. And sometimes George would say, right, do three threes, but you're going to do 9 minutes, right? Straight 9, yeah. And let me go straight 9 and go into one and whack the bag, and then I was to get on my floor workout. I was massive at floor workout. I was to really be good at it, you know. Exercise, I was on it big time, and I was getting really looking the part. And then one day George says to me, I know I've cut a lot of these things out, yeah. One day George says to me, come on, we're going to start going down the pro gym. We started going down the Haverstock Hill, Noble Art, and going to the pro gyms is so different. It's so different, you know. And you're getting to meet proper people, proper fighters, yeah. And as I say, I got to know quite a few in there. And you know, when you sort of Billy, I mean, I went in there and there's a guy called Billy Ed, heavyweight, southpaw, and Bill, I think it was a Scouse, not quite sure, but a nice guy, man, a nice guy. He was teaching me a hell of a lot. Look, just looking at him, and when he was getting with Joe Bugner and all that, and spar around, and you know, you'd learn a lot, and getting with Pat McCann. Pat McCann was a lot lighter than him, but Pat McCann, good fighter, Pat McCann, good boxer, Pat McCann. Like I love Pat McCann, and like you know, I met Pat in prison and also on the road. I mean, Pat, good mates of mine, Pat, and Pat was a really could have it in the ring and really could have it in the street. He was a good street fighter, Pat McCann. Don't muck about with him, mate. And he lived in Harrow, where I just come from, but not. I didn't live there at that time. I lived in Acton, but he could fight Pat McCann, mate. I was, you know, I mean, that guy. You get in the ring with him, mate, and he'd smash you around the gaff. He could really have it, yeah. But Bobby Neal, he loved me with Bobby Neal. I mean, he once I started getting in the ring with people like Billy Ed and Joe Bugner and all that, and mucking about in the ring with him, Bobby Neal wanted to talk to my mate George. George really my trainer down the amateur gym, telling me, look, listen, this Ray Hill's going to go a long way. You know what I mean? Why don't he turn pro? George said, no, it's too early for him to turn pro. It's like one of the things you watch the Williams sisters, and I think that, I see a film about it, about the old man, how he pushed the Williams sisters and they wanted the Williams sisters to do this and do that, and the old man wouldn't let them do it. He waited and at the very end, he pushed them forward, and they become world tennis players. So it's about that, isn't it? You know, like George was the same. He didn't want to push me into it too quick and ruin it, yeah. But in a way, I wish he had to push me in there because I went the other way, you know, when I just start doing robberies and all that. But and then Bobby Neal would talk to me behind George's back, and say, "Look, why don't you turn pro? You know, you can hold it. You're in the ring with good fighters. You know, Bugner, Billy Ed. You're in there with them, and you know, and you hold your own reign. You not hold your own with them. I mean, you know, but get in the ring with a good professional fighters like that, European, British champions, them sort of people, and one fighting for the world title is a bit near the mark, you know. No fear. You got in the ring with me. You know, 60-ounce gloves, but you still got in the ring and stood up with them people, which is fantastic. They didn't take liberties with you, Ray, but they could have done. But they're learning you all the time. You're learning, yeah, and you are learning, yeah. And I said to George, he said, no, not yet. And I was getting more, you know. And then, you know, you fight as an amateur. Then I used to go down to Beckett, and fight down to Beckett, train down there. And they're getting better and better and better. And I noticed that I was getting more crisp and more when I was to come down to the amateur gym in London Transport, and everything seemed so easy. Everything seemed easy for me, you know, like sparring with Garth, the black guy. It all seemed easy because I was learning so much, you know, how to move your legs and how to bob and weave and all this. And it just like everything was just different, you know, learning so much, yeah. And George, in the end, said, look, you know, we'll see how it goes. He said, you know, and I pulled away from George. I was still going down there, but it got to a stage where I wasn't going nowhere. I was just fighting as an amateur, and I thought myself, it's about time that I moved forward a bit. So I stopped going down the Haverstock Hill, the Noble Ark, and Leslie McIntyre, my mate Danny Christie, turned pro with Georgie Francis and Mickey Duff, you know, and got me to go down to Wellington Highgate, a pub called the Wellington Highgate, not near this near the what's it called, a petrol station anyway. and going down there and going in there and sparring around in there, and I learnt a lot from them, mate. I had a trainer then, George Devitt, I think his name was George Devitt. He used to train me a bit, and I was still an amateur, you know what I mean? I wasn't a pro, but Leslie told him I'd been down Haverstock Hill and this, that, and the other, and sparring with Bogdan and all that, and Conti and all that, and Sterling, and he got all them good fighters in there, you know what I mean? And you know, and I had a really, I mean, Georgie Devitt, good trainer, mate, George Devitt, really, really good trainer. And then one day, Georgie Francis, Mickey Duff, talked to me about me turning pro. And I was really, really so interested then, you know, I wanted it big time. Me and Leslie would go out every day, me and Leslie, leave the gym and go out thieving. You know, we'd just go out thieving and earn lots of money. So money was coming to me, and I thought to myself, I don't really want to get into this boxing level. We're earning good money, but they said, no, you've got to keep going. You know what I mean? We used to run miles. Sometimes we used to run to the gym. You think I'm joking? We used to run to the gym, down in North Circuit, wallop, and run miles to the gym, mate. You know what I mean? A pack on our back and just keep running. It was very, very fit, mate. Unbelievably fit. And Leslie was a welterweight, so I was a heavyweight then. Yeah. So I was about 13.6, 13.7, you know, which is light, but it's cruiserweight. But it's a light, you can fight heavyweight as well. But anyway, so then I met a girl, then I fell in love with her, then I met her sister, fell in love with her sister, and all this, that, and the other. And one day, I got Georgie Francis said to me, look, we're going to come down, me and Mickey Duff. And I think it was I'm not quite sure, Mickey Duff, Jarvis, I'm not quite sure who there was three of them went. I know Mickey Duff and Georgie Francis was at the house. And one day they said they're going to come down and see me. I think it was on a Sunday. And young boy, played testosterone, met these girls, got involved. Rather than me meet them, I would stay with these girls, and it caused more problems for me, yeah. So Georgie Francis and Mickey Duff and all them sort of people didn't want to know. I mean, I just left the gym, went into thieving. What a fool, you know what I mean? What a fool. I mean, John O'Gardner just turned pro. John O'Gardner had John O'Gardner fight, John. I mean, when I was to see him down Haverstock, I was down there sparring and all that. John O'Gardner is one of the fittest fighters that I've ever known, yeah. Really, really fit. He reminds me of Joyce, Joe Joyce. I mean, not Joe Joyce reminds me of John O'Gardner. The way John O'Gardner used to fight was exactly the same really as Joe Joyce. Going forward, bobbing and weaving, throwing punches all the time. Gardner was exactly the same. Wore his opponents down, and you know, and just knocked them out, and just wore them out. But Joe Joyce, he's got John O'Gardner's style of fighting, yeah, which I think anyway. And I loved it, mate. I was, you know, then me and Leslie McIntyre got into more thieving, doing more robberies and bits and pieces. And then I got involved with something and got myself a ball store and a YP and all these sorts of things. And going down the fruit market, didn't turn pro, knocked the amateur game on the head. Just went down to the fruit market as a porter, got in there, got involved in it, meet people down the market, Colin Cracknell, Mickey Knoll, his brother Terry, was it Mickey Knoll, Terry Knoll? I met all the Collinses, all the Welleses. I mean, they was all fighters. Derek Pierce, Martin Worsfold, everybody down at market was a fighter. And I loved it, you know what I mean? Because I used to get with Colin Cracknell and bag gloves, fish. It's all, I missed out quite a lot, you know. But I loved my fighting. I loved it, you know. It was one of the things I used to love. And I remember we used to come out of the pro gyms, yeah, down at Haverstock Hill, the Noble Art, and just walk down the road, get onto the train. I think it was, I'm not quite sure now, anyway, something, I forget the name of the station. So we walk down the road, get to the station, and I used to always tie my bag, my gloves on the outside of my bag, yeah. as a kid. Yeah, do you know, like you love being, you're a bit flash, aren't you? You're a bit, you know, like it's what it is. The testosterone kicks into you, and it's just like get on a train, underground train, and you know you've got the gloves on the outside of your bag, and people looking at you, looking at your face a bit smashed up. You know what I mean? And know that you're obviously you're a fighter. Do you know what I mean? And you loved it. You know what I mean? You loved it, and you was God, crisp body, mate. The body was perfect. You had fantastic abs, massive shoulders, massive deltoids, big biceps. You know what I mean? Triceps were big. Everything was massive legs, quads. You know, everything was in proper shape. Yeah, and massive calves, skip all the time. And I felt really good, you know. I loved it, yeah. And the reason I've done this morning was because I watched a video yesterday. Matt Legg's as a mate. I've never met Matt Legg face to face, but I've talked to him on the phone. Nice guy, terrific personality. Does not a flash guy. He's just nice. Boxed with AJ. Got stopped in the first round, but he still boxed AJ, and he went out the first round to knock him out. If Matt Legg would have hit AJ at that time with a left hook or right across or whatever it was, I fancy he'd have stopped him, myself personally. But Matt Legg got stopped in the first round, but with big respect to get in with AJ at Wembley. Fantastic, mate. And I really hold my hands up to this guy. But yesterday, I put Matt Legg on, and I see him with this guy called Danny Christie, is it? Danny Christie. Danny Christie's a good fighter, you know what I mean? And I see him, then I look, he'd done a podcast with Danny Christie, and I heard Matt Legg. Please look at it. It's Matt Legg and Danny Christie having a podcast about the fights and this, that, and the other. It's a really good video. It's fantastic. I loved it. I love the way he talked with Danny Christie. I love the way Danny Christie talked. I love the way he put himself over. I love the way Matt Legg put himself over about his fights, not being flash. This big. I really love him, Matt Legg. Respect for that guy, the way he talks, yeah. And then they got in the ring and done a couple of rounds, yeah. And they was doing rounds, and it gets to you, you know what I mean? It made me think, oh yeah, do you know, like I'm 71 now, you know what I mean? So obviously, it's a bit different for me. Matt Legg's quite young, really, 44, 45. I'm not good. I don't even think he's that. But I see them now in the ring, yeah, and I went to myself, God, I love that, man. I love that, you know what I mean? And it was moving around, no liberties being taken. Matt with Danny. Danny was about 13.2, 13.3. Matt's about 18 stone, 18.5 stone. He's carrying a bit of weight, you know, but he can bang as well. So he wouldn't, obviously, so he had utmost respect for Danny Christie. Danny Christie had utmost respect for Matt Legg. And there was movement around the ring. And the ring, man, was so tiny. It was like being on this table, you know what I mean? It was so tiny. It was a square ring. You couldn't go nowhere. And it was lovely, you know what I mean? And it made me, so excited, you know what I mean? So excited to see it moving around the ring, throwing punches at each other. And just the 2 rounds, you know. Well, I don't know how long they'd done it for, before that or after that or whatever, yeah. But it was good. I loved it, and I loved it, and I loved it. Matt Legg said he's going to get into the bare knuckle fight, and I did say before I didn't think it'd be good for him, but seeing him move around the ring, he's still got it. I love to see it. I love to see him get into that with the bare knuckle fights. He's the person that I want to do my promotions with, getting promotions with Joe Smith, and you know. But it's quite, you know, like every day it goes by, you don't do it, you don't see him, you don't talk to him, and nothing happens, yeah. And you think, you know, like, is it going to happen, you know? But you know, anyway, just see if it does happen. But people must watch it. Matt Legg and Danny Christie talking on. Danny Christie's got a podcast, his own channel. So look at Danny Christie and him doing one with Matt Legg. It's in a good studio. It's really, the sound is fantastic, and the lighting's good, and everything's fantastic, yeah. And Danny Christie's talking to Matt Legg about some sensible talking about fighting. And they've got two fighters there talking about fighting. It's so good, and I loved it. I wish to God that I'd have turned pro, you know, and I could have put myself over like Matt Legg did, and it was really good. I love the way he talks, a good memory, and he came over really well, you know, and it made me just like, you know, like wish, like again, you was that age to get into the ring, and I loved it, man. You know, it brings back memories. You know, like fucking hell, man. Sorry, but it brings back memories of you know, being punched around, not punched around, but you know, sometimes it used to do me a favour. You know what I mean? You know, everyone you know, you learn, but when you get hooks and left, right crosses, and you know, you learn a lot. You're always learning. You know, and it doesn't matter how many times you get in the ring, mate. You always learn, and you can always be knocked out. Yeah, you can you can always be knocked out. You can always make mistakes. You can always lift your head up too high. You can always roll the wrong way, you know, and get it done. You know what I mean? So yeah, but I loved it. Matt Legg, well done, mate. I loved it. Well done, Danny Christie. I loved it, and yeah, listen, utmost respect to you both. Yeah. Anyway, this is Bang Bang Ray Hill. Please press the like button and subscribe, and good morning. Yeah, bye bye.